Hey Lonnie, what's your trick to staying sober? Well, I gotta tell you, everybody has their own path, but I am going to share with you today my tips and tricks on how I stay sober. So now that you're sober, you just need to stay sober. And I gotta tell you, sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard. But the simple fact is that you've made it this far, you are sober. So now we need to talk about you staying sober. That is the key to your recovery. And I am very excited to be able to share with you today what I have developed for myself to keep myself sober. Now, I want to make it very clear that I am not endorsing one recovery over another. My personal opinion is every addiction is tailored to each person individually. So each person's sobriety is tailored to that person individually, meaning what works for one person might not work for another. What works for me might not work for you. So you have to open yourself up to different avenues of sobriety until you find what is your perfect fit. And then once you do, your sobriety will be yours to cherish for the rest of your life. One of the most important aspects of my sobriety and keeping myself sober is I've developed a little system for myself. Now, I have said in the past on some of my other episodes that I grew up in an environment where we always had to fight back. It's very easy for me to hold up for myself. But when it came to an addiction, I felt like I wanted to fight back, but I didn't know what I was fighting. I wanted to hold up for myself, but I couldn't see what I was holding up for myself against. So I was sitting there and I'm like, this is so frustrating. I want to be protecting myself, but I just don't know against what. So it just so happened that early on in my recovery, I had a dream. And in my dream, I actually was arguing with my addiction. And my addiction was in the form of kind of like a black blob that was latched onto my shoulder and my back, and it was sitting right there. And my addiction looked at me and was like, I'm not gonna let you go. And I was like, yeah, you are. And it's like, nope, I'm not done with you yet. I'm like, yes, you are. And I actually had an argument with my addiction in my dream over the simple fact that I was going to be done with it. And it was like, I'm not ready to let go of you. So I woke up and I'm like, dang, that is a gross, disgusting thing attached to me. And truthfully, if that was real life, I would be like, and I would be fighting to get it off of me. And I'm like, there's your object. There's your addiction. That is what you are fighting against. There's your physical form. And ever since then, I'm like, I see you. I see you, addiction. I see you, and I am going to be alert to you. I'm going to be aware of you, but I see you, and I am going to get rid of you and keep you away because I actually could see what I was fighting. It has made the world of difference for me. So if you're out there, you know what? You don't have to make it a big black blob on your shoulder, but I suggest giving yourself your addiction a form. Give yourself a physical manifestation of what you are actually fighting against. That way you can, it's just something in your brain that's going to be like, yeah, I see you, and I'm not going to let you ruin my life. And again, it made a world of difference for me because now I'm like, you know what? Bring it on. I am not going to let you ruin my life. So along with that line of thinking, what I always do, and a lot of times when I'm explaining things, I try to be very visual because a lot of times my thoughts are actually pictures in my head, if that makes any sense at all. But what I envision myself as a sober person, I envision myself like, the picture I'm trying to paint for you is like a cabin in the woods, all right? And in this, it's kind of like a movie. And in this movie, there's a cabin, and it's at nighttime, and you're in this cabin and you know that there is a monster outside. It's like, like one of those 80s horror films. And I am the cabin. This visualization of a building is the visualization of me, my body, my spirit. So I'm like, I know that there's a monster outside and I'm on the inside. In the inside, it's bright, it's cheery, it's warm, it's welcoming. And what I'm doing is I know that monster's out there, so I check the windows, I check the doors. Every morning when I wake up, every night before I go to bed, I double check and I make sure all of my safety precautions are in line. And I just have this nice, warm, wonderful feeling inside my own house, inside my own body, inside my own head. Now, if you flash back to an 80s horror film, that one person always opens the door and you're screaming, you're like, don't open the door. So what I'm trying to visualize for you right now is I have kind of like a defense mechanisms in place. I keep myself very well protected against addiction. I know it's out there. I know it's never going to leave me. I know I'm never going to wake up one morning without an addictive personality. I know all these things to be true. So I had set up a perimeter of protection for myself against that addiction who has a physical manifestation of a form, who's outside my cabin waiting for me to mess up and open the door and see if that monster's still out there, because it's never going anywhere. That doesn't mean that I have to be sad and lonely within my little cabin, within my safe space. But I take my safe space with me. I take it everywhere I go. Very important, very, very, very important tip for you is you have to be aware of triggers. Now, for me, my addictions were drinking, smoking, and gambling. I had 3 big ones. Drinking, you know what? I don't really have very many triggers with drinking. I can go hang out with friends, they can be drinking, and I'm like, I don't want a beer. There's just something within my brain mechanism that I don't get triggered often. Not often. That doesn't mean I don't, but not often. Smoking, no, smoking smells gross. I'm okay with that. Gambling is a very difficult addiction for me. And again, and I've mentioned this before, even talking about it, sucker punches me. That is extremely triggering for me. Now, I know these triggers. I know that I cannot go into a casino. I just won't do it. I don't even like to drive by casinos. I don't like the feeling of, it's not that I'm gonna go do it, but I don't like the feeling of wanting it to. So I'm very aware of that. I stay away from it. If I've had friends, celebrating their birthdays and they'll be like, hey, come join us. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm a gambling addict and that will trigger me. I cannot make it. I've been in situations where it's difficult for me to go to weddings. Weddings are very difficult for me because I used to be that drunk girl at the weddings. And going there doesn't really trigger me to want to drink. It just brings back some really bad memories. But I will go for the ceremony. I do not stay for the reception. I do it because I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And I'm very honest with the bride and groom. I would love to attend your ceremony. I would love to see you get married. I, unfortunately, am not comfortable with the reception and I will not be attending. So you can save your money for the meal. I will not be there. And it's perfectly okay. Again, you are protecting yourself from an addiction. If you had a medical condition that you were protecting, you would be so okay with that. You'd be like, hey, I can't go to this particular function because it's going to trigger this reaction and I could possibly die. If it's like a diagnosed medical thing. When it comes to addiction, we have a tendency to get a little bit more embarrassed. We're like, I don't want to tell them that, I can't go because I'm an alcoholic and I don't want people to think I'm weird. No, don't think that. You have just as much right to protect yourself and your sobriety as anybody else does in protecting themselves. So find your triggers and stay away from them. There's nothing wrong with that. Your sobriety is more important than a party. Your sobriety is more important than a gathering at a casino. Your sobriety is extremely important. Do not go anywhere that you're going to get a trigger, because if you get triggered, you might open the door of your cabin and guess what's out there? That addiction is out there waiting for you, so do not put yourself in that situation. I like this next tip. I really like it, but you have to reward yourself. Reward yourself for your sobriety. You know, tell yourself like, hey, you know what? I've been sober now for a good long time. I'm going to celebrate with a vacation. I've been sober for a very long time now. I am just going to do whatever it is that you want to do that makes you happy. Make sure that you celebrate it in honor of your sobriety. It makes you feel good. I remember, I don't know my exact sober date, but I knew the month and the year. And after my first year, my children actually had a surprise sober party for me. And it was really, really cool. And it was a celebration and it made me feel good. So give yourself little rewards, whether it's, you know, buying a new outfit. Be like, hey, I've been sober for a really long time. I'm going to buy myself an outfit. You know, I'm going to take myself out to dinner. I'm just going to have an ice cream cone. Or it could be like, you know what? I'm going to go celebrate and go for a hike. It doesn't matter what it is, so long as your brain is telling yourself that you're celebrating you and your sobriety. Make sure you do that. Super important. You have to have positivity just ingrained in your life along with your sobriety. Cannot say that enough. Your sobriety is positive. Give yourself positive reinforcement. My last tip for you is give yourself time. All right. A lot of times when we get sober, we want immediate reactions. And first and foremost, you are sober. You're on a sober journey. Congratulations. But you have to heal. All right. You have so much things in your body, so many things in your brain, so many things within your emotional state that just needs kindness. It needs compassion. It needs love. You need to treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion and love that you would treat a loved one who was not feeling well. You need to give yourself that same kindness, compassion, and love. You know what? When you give yourself that, you will start to heal. You'll start to get stronger. You will start to be able to be like, hey, you know what? I'm okay, so perhaps I'm going to try something new. Or I'm okay, I think I can go to dinner with my friends. I know they're going to be drinking. I'm going to try it. If I feel uncomfortable, I know it's a trigger and I'm going to leave. But just give your time to get to that. I mean, we put so much pressure on ourselves. Don't be 30 days sober and be like, okay, well, it's Betsy's birthday party and she's going to be disappointed in me if I don't go. You know there's going to be drinking. You don't want to disappoint Betsy. You end up going and you end up relapsing. Give yourself the time to heal and to find your strength. You are the most important person in this conversation, and you need to finally realize where the importance lies, and it is you. It is you. It is your defense mechanism. It is everything about you. I don't know if there's enough people that tell recovering addicts that you are the most important, but it's the truth. Please remember that. It is all about you. So those are my tips and tricks. Again, addiction, sobriety, it is tailored to exactly to who you are. A lot of people ask me about AA. If that helps you, 100% do it. If you want to go, do it on your own and that works for you, then do it on your own. Nobody can tell you how to be sober. Nobody can tell you what your sober journey is going to be. Nobody told you how to be an addict, so how can somebody tell you how to be sober? Listen to yourself, follow your heart, heal, and I have all the love and encouragement for you that one person can give you. It's coming your way. So as always, if you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to hit the like button. And if you'd like to, stick around, see what I'm going to be talking about next, please hit subscribe. Now, I would love your comments. I really have been enjoying the comments that I've been getting during this, talking about sobriety and everything like that. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave those down below and I will absolutely address those. I would love your recommendations for any future episodes of subjects or anything that you would like to talk about. And as always, if you'd like to follow me on any of my social media platforms, those are all listed down below. And until next time, please remember, be kind to yourself, give yourself time to heal. I'm proud of you, and I will see you on the next episode.